It's nearing 6 o'clock here in Singapore, and that means it's nearly time for the evening practice session. The sun has set and the track is illuminated by the extremely strong floodlight system. The stage is set then for some great F1 action to commence. You have to say, since its inaugural Grand Prix back in 2008, Singapore has been a great Formula One success story. It was Formula One's first ever night race, taking place under these powerful spotlights, with the different coloured lights in the city surrounding the circuit. It definitely makes for a fantastic racing experience for both the drivers and for the fans.
It's certainly fantastic for the fans, but a huge challenge for the drivers. Racing at night is one thing, but on top of that, you're in amongst the barriers on an incredibly bumpy surface, not to mention the extreme humidity that drivers face. All of this makes it the most physically and mentally demanding race on the calendar.
This is the kind of track that eats rear tyres for breakfast, or so I'm told by more experienced drivers than myself.
No matter how good a driver is at managing their throttle application to limit rear slip, they can't always overcome a car that's inherently bad at looking after its rear tyres. Here we have a lot of low-speed corner exits, which means a whole load of energy, heat and tyre wear.
Alright lads, so here we are for episode number 13 of the F1 2015 Career Mode Championship. This is Singapore, a night race, and another one of those bloody street tracks. A lot of people, I've got to say, don't like the street tracks, but for me personally, I love them and I embrace a challenge. But at the end of the practice, we ended up in 9th place. Now normally some people would go, okay, 9th place, not too bad. But then you look at the delta to Lewis Hamilton, 2.7 seconds. But the thing is, my lap wasn't all that bad, so heading into qualifying, I think we're in a bit of trouble.
The sky is dark and the lights are on. Welcome to qualifying here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit in Singapore. Well, the wet weather will certainly be causing some issues here today in Singapore. A wet or a damp circuit is always more problematic on a street track than the more traditional open tracks. If you make a mistake here, it could be a lost wing, or worse, you could be out of the session.
There's no doubt that the weather will play a big part in this session, but Singapore has an extra complication in that it's a night race. Visibility will be impaired further due to the lights reflecting off the surface, so the drivers are certainly going to be tested in qualifying today.
I don't know about you guys, but it seems like Anthony Davidson was treating the drivers like they've never driven in the rain or even at night before, so I don't know, harping on about useless crap. But anyway, here we are in qualifying. As I said, we were struggling a little bit in practice, but that was dry conditions. It's a completely different kettle of fish now in quali where it's fully wet. I don't know what the forecast is for the race, but we've got to assume that it might be raining for that session as well. A little bit unfortunate though that you can't see what the overall forecast is for the entire weekend. But after the 2 laps we did, we're down in 15th place. So we look even slower in the rain, and that's very, very alarming considering our teammate Felipe Massa. He is right on the pace at the moment, so we need to get a move on here. There's only, 4 minutes left in the session? I can't quite see from my preview window, but either way, we only have time for 2 flying laps. And looks like so far, I can tell you we are on target for a better lap time, I think. Don't quote me on that, but it looks like we might be on target to improve here. Final corner, hitting the apex fairly nicely. It all looks fairly stable at this stage, maybe too stable. Maybe I'm not pushing the boundaries enough, but I decided on the final lap to just go even harder on, the acceleration, the braking. Locking up was a big factor in this lap, but even there, oversteer towards the line. We ended up just in 10th place.
Good evening and welcome to the Marina Bay Street Circuit, a track that always provides excitement and an element of unpredictability on this difficult to drive street track. Welcome to the Singapore Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel is in the driving seat for today's race. He starts in pole position and has the advantage of starting on the clean side of the grid. If he gets off to a good start, he could be untouchable.
It's certainly better for a driver to be out in front, as they're able to drive without having to contend with the dirty air and overheating caused by being sat behind another car.
So what would you have been doing overnight if you were Lewis Hamilton to make up the time difference that he needs to make up based on yesterday's qualifying times?
He clearly has a pretty good balance in the car. He just needs to work out where he can squeeze an extra tenth or two to make up the difference.
So here we are for the race. Fairly interesting looking grid. No Mercedes getting pole today. That was taken by Sebastian Vettel, of course. I believe Nico Rosberg down in P6. Alonso did very well to get up into 8th place, I believe. So we'll be starting from P10. Obviously, some cars will need to overtake. And as you can tell, we're doing a one-stop at Singapore. Can you believe it? A one-stop. This is going to be one long old race if the rain continues to fall throughout the entirety of this Grand Prix. But away we go. It looks like we've actually got off to a good start in heavy rain conditions. You wouldn't expect that, not in a million years, not from me anyway. But coming into turn 1, we picked up 2 positions. Very nice start, exactly what we needed for the Singapore Grand Prix. Going side by side there with Max Verstappen. Is that right? Is his name Max? I'm just having a total mind blank there. It is Max Verstappen. I'm not crazy. Okay, turn 3 now. First sector, almost done. I can't believe I forgot Max Verstappen's name there. How can I be an F1 YouTuber? The end of the first lap, I've got to say the conditions aren't that great, I've got to say. Just initially, I don't know if I got the tyre pressures wrong, but it just felt like early on new tyres, I just couldn't generate any kind of temperature, and it took a lot of work for me to actually catch and pass any cars in this Grand Prix. So first lap done, going up the inside of Max Verstappen now into turn 1, and we're into P7. Next up is Kimi Räikkönen, the guy who is probably the form guy in the entire F1 field at the moment after winning Spa and getting 2nd place in Monza. Now lap 6, or lap 7, we've finally caught up to the back of Kimi. Such is just the pace difference between us and the leaders at the moment. We're really having to push the boundaries and having to really generate tyre temps to make lap time here, but we finally got the inside of Kimi. I'm not too sure if he just turned out of the corner or if he just locked the inside front and went straight on a little bit, but either way, that was very opportunistic for us. Kimi is back on the attack now on lap 8, I believe. He goes back up the inside. No, it's lap 11, and he takes P6 back again. So interesting little battle here going on with Kimi Räikkönen. Lap 11, we've come in for the undercut for a new set of wet tyres. I asked the engineer constantly over the course of this stint, when was the rain going to stop? What's the forecast looking like for the rest of the race? And he told me heavy rain is expected for the next 20 minutes at least. So I took the opportunity to put on a new set of wet tyres. I thought I'd get some lap time now with the new tyres until, the rain stops, which should be 20 minutes. That should be about the distance of what a wet tyre stint should do. So by the time these tyres go off, as we have a massive slide through the final corner, have a look at this from the replay. Oh, that's Formula Drift stuff right there. What I was going to say, we've got to look after these tyres, because by the end of this tyre stint, we should be switching over to intermediate tyres. That's the plan, at least, according to the engineer. Lap 15, we've caught up to the back of Felipe Nasr. I've got to say, I'm a little bit concerned about our strategy at the moment, because it looks like the rain is not easing up at all. And also my pace on new wet tyres wasn't that great at all. It took a long time for these tyres to get up to temperature. But we finally got the inside of Nasr there. We're still going side by side. I've got to say, it took me 2 or 3 laps to even put myself in a position to overtake Nasr. We were just stuck behind him for ages, even though he's a much slower car on much older tyres. But yeah, if new tyres are a bad thing for all the cars coming in the next few laps, then we should be a lot quicker than all those guys who put on new tyres very soon. So that's, I guess, one encouragement. We've already been through the hard yards of a cold tyre. Hopefully the AI can make the same sort of mistake with their tyre pressures at least. But lap 21, Felipe Massa going very slowly through the middle sector. He must have a problem of some kind. I've got to have a look on the replay and see what's up with him. Yeah, he's got a front right puncture. So once again, Felipe has probably turned in on someone and given himself a puncture. So that's not what you want to see from a team standpoint, from a constructor standpoint. Once again, Felipe is not doing the goods for the team. Now we can see just a few corners later, Kimi Räikkönen, I'm not too sure about Jensen, but Räikkönen at least is going very, very slowly here through corners. I wonder if he's lost his front wing, maybe from contact with Massa. We got the insider button there, and Räikkönen is just so slow. We easily take him and move into P5 there, so I think for sure they made contact or something like that. But lap 23, we're trying to push on now to catch Daniel Kvyat, who is something like 8 or 9 seconds up the road, and we, surprisingly, we're actually catching him. The rain did not let up at all, so we did an entire race. We're going to do an entire race around Singapore in heavy rain conditions. But luckily for us though, the tyre wear is actually really good at this stage, so the engineer was telling me. But lap 29, Nico Rosberg has essentially come out of nowhere. He's going to overtake us up the inside, and it looks like he's run a little bit too deep into the braking zone. We do the crisscross, and we've got him back for P5. So bit of a cat and mouse battle here going on with myself, Rosberg, and the cars in front of us, including Kvyat and Fernando Alonso in the podium for a McLaren Honda. So this final 2 or 3 laps of the Singapore Grand Prix is going to be very interesting to see who in fact gets a podium in this race. Felipe Massa, we've lapped him already. In the space of 2 or 3 laps, he's managed to lose an entire lap. So I don't know, there might be some kind of external problem that we don't know about apart from the puncture. But either way, going through the final corner, this is the position of Rosberg. We can see that Massa was just all over the place in letting us through, that he's in fact held up Rosberg so much that he actually wasn't a problem for me for the next couple laps. So that left me with a little less pressure to attack Kvyat and then Alonso, knowing that I've got more time to do that. We try and go up the inside, or at least I thought about going up the inside into the hairpin there. We're now running out of laps, coming onto the final corner of the final lap. And we got a really nice exit off the final corner. That was one strong point which led to a lot of overtakes today, but we're going to need it today. Going up the inside of Kvyat, almost hitting Alonso in the process, overshooting the first corner. I don't know, that's very, very line ball as to whether that's a legal move or not, but I just need to keep on pushing because we're running out of time here in the Singapore Grand Prix. Felipe Massa almost hitting us as we went through the corner there. Whoa, hang on a second, we need to take this all the way back because there's much more to this little incident here than what meets the eye. I think this all started with Rosberg. So Rosberg tries to go up the inside of Kvyat. He makes contact and he hits the wall, loses his front wing. I think that's distracted Massa, and then he almost hit me. So as we slow it down with Rosberg here, he makes ever so slight contact. It disrupts the front end, sends him wide into the wall. He was so lucky not to lose a tyre there, only loses his front wing, and then he almost runs into the path of Felipe Massa. Oh, that is so unlucky for Rosberg, but just once again drama in these career mode races. It just seems to come out of nowhere. But once again, from the outside shot, yeah, you can't really see too much there, but Rosberg was a very, very lucky boy to get away with only a front wing being lost there. But all that action sort of distracted me from the real fight here with Alonso. I wasn't able to get close enough to him to really have an attack. So it looks like a McLaren Honda is going to get a podium this season. Of all tracks, it's going to be Singapore. We do an almighty drift through the final corner, and that's 4th place. A very solid comeback.
Another great day for Lewis Hamilton. He extends his record of having had the most Grand Prix wins by a British driver. When he's in this kind of form, he really is almost unstoppable.
It really was a wonderful performance, and one that the team will be celebrating for some time to come.
That's it for today's Grand Prix, and from Ant and I, it's goodbye, and see you again next time.
So there we go, lads. Another exciting race in this F1 2015 Career Mode Championship. At the end of that race there, I did say it was a comeback because I felt like we were on the back foot throughout the entirety of that race. We started P10. We had a lot of cars to pass. I didn't feel comfortable with the setup at all. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I ran with a default setup after the setbacks we had in practice where we were just so slow. I just decided to run with what the AI were doing, and I made a bad call with the pit stop. I came in way too early, and I thought for sure I'd need to make an extra pit stop there once the wet conditions stayed for the entirety of the race. So for us to do, I think we did 22 laps or something on one set of wet tyres, so I thought that was absolutely outstanding that we were able to manage to finish on those tyres and still have pace versus, say, the likes of Kvyat and Alonso and stuff. But that's enough from me, enough rambling. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like. Remember, 2K likes. And the next episode will be out tomorrow. I don't even know what track it is, so let me know in the comments, but it should be a good one nonetheless. Until my next video, guys, I'll see you next time.
I've got a question, if you'd hear me out. In your defense, you never had a chance. And so tell me straight, I won't go. This is our time now, I'm sure. Make no mistake that we are closer than we're far. Embrace for impact, and fight your fears far. Embrace for impact, I'm the future's engineer, and baby I'm here, I'm here. I'm here.
I sort of have a running joke with friends and stuff that the worst thing you could do is a full race at Singapore in full wet conditions, and yeah, it looks like we've got that today. Kimi Rosberg has overtaken me. Good job, Ben.